Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. A dramatic London derby between West Ham and Tottenham took a controversial turn on Saturday evening, as Tomáš Souček was shown a straight red card, and now FIFA has stepped in, handing the Czech midfielder a suspension for serious foul play. The West Ham star was dismissed shortly after half-time for a high, dangerous tackle on João Palhinha, sparking outrage from fans and players alike. As tempers flared, Tottenham capitalised with 3 goals, including a landmark strike from 19-year-old Lucas Bergvall. But it was Souček's reckless challenge, confirmed by VAR, that stole the headlines and prompted swift disciplinary action from football's governing body. It has been revealed why Tomáš Souček was sent off during West Ham's clash against Tottenham Hotspur at the London Stadium on Saturday evening. The 30-year-old midfielder was given his marching orders shortly after the break, following a challenge on João Palhinha. Jared Gillett brandished the red card, and Souček left the field. The video assistant referee, John Brooks, and his assistant Natalie Aspinall quickly reviewed the incident at Stockley Park, confirming the on-field decision. An official statement from the Premier League Match Centre, on X, formerly known as Twitter, reads, "The referee's call of red card to Souček for serious foul play was checked and confirmed by VAR, with the contact deemed to be high on the shin, which endangered the safety of the opponent." A few moments later, Tottenham doubled their lead through Lucas Bergvall, who latched onto a delightfully lofted pass from Cristian Romero. The 19-year-old midfielder, who marked his 50th appearance with a goal, leapt above his marker and headed the ball over Mads Hermansen. Before Pape Matar Sarr broke the deadlock on the brink of half-time, Spurs had a goal ruled out. Mickey van de Ven, who later went on to score the Lilywhites' third of the evening, was adjudged to have fouled Kyle Walker-Peters during a corner. Romero leapt above his marker and headed the ball into the top right corner. Unfortunately for the Tottenham captain, his goal was chalked off. On X, the Premier League Match Centre said, "The referee's call of no goal was checked and confirmed by VAR, with it deemed that Van de Ven pushed Walker-Peters in the back and impacted his ability to play the ball." Speaking to reporters on Friday ahead of the London derby, Thomas Frank described West Ham as extremely difficult opposition. The Spurs boss said, "Very excited. I know it means a lot for the fans. We will go there and do everything we can to, of course, try to win the game. I think we're facing a West Ham team, which I think maybe didn't have the best start. I think they got a very good win against Nottingham, and I think they did well. I think they've got some top players. I've known Graham Potter for years, and I've followed his fantastic work all the way from Sweden to Swansea to Brighton to Chelsea to now here, so it's a big respect for him and his staff. I know it will be difficult, and I know this game tomorrow will be extremely difficult because no matter if West Ham were top of the league, or bottom of the league, or middle of the league, this game will just make them raise their level. So I expect an extremely difficult game, but we'll be ready for it, and we're ready to attack." Frank will quickly turn his attention to Tuesday night, when Tottenham take on Villarreal in the Champions League. The Lilywhites will host the La Liga outfit in North London as they look to start the campaign on the right foot. Thomas Frank says he's felt the backing from the powerful Lewis family that owns Tottenham after the shock exit of Daniel Levy. Staff inside Spurs were left stunned by Levy's departure after 24 years as chairman, following a shake-up instigated by the Lewis family, who run ENIC, the company that in turn owns the North London club. The new powers that be behind Tottenham are siblings Vivian and Charles Lewis, the children of former Spurs owner Joe Lewis, alongside Nick Butcher, who is married to Joanna, Vivian's daughter. Frank was among those left shocked by the departure of Levy, but has already felt the backing from the owners, who are expected to invest in the team to help them compete with their big spending rivals. I've spoken to a few from the Lewis family and Peter Charrington, the new non-executive chairman. I also spoke to him before. Of course he was on the board. So there's been good, constructive conversations, and I feel the backing. And they're happy, said the Dane. I think it's fair to say things have gone quite quickly, so I'm also quite convinced that in the next couple of months, I will be more aware of the future plans. Hopefully we will make them together. I think that's the best way to do it. Everything I sense, I feel, and I've been told is positivity and backing. He added, "It's very important to be transparent and to be clear. What are we dealing with? What is the ambition? Can we adjust expectations? Are we on the same page? What is the strategy? Are we aligned? That's absolutely crucial." I've spoken to a few from the Lewis family and Peter Charrington, the new non-executive chairman. I also spoke to him before, of course he was on the board. So there's been good, constructive conversations and I feel the backing, and they're happy, said the Dane. I think it's fair to say things have gone quite quickly, so I'm also quite convinced that in the next couple of months, I will be more aware of the future plans. Hopefully, we will make them together. I think that's the best way to do it. Everything I sense, I feel, and I've been told is positivity and backing. He added, "It's very important to be transparent and to be clear. What are we dealing with? What is the ambition? Can we adjust expectations? Are we on the same page? What is the strategy? Are we aligned? That's absolutely crucial." It happened Thursday. I was back on the training ground on Monday, and then we had 4 training sessions. It was not that Daniel was out there on the training pitch or in the meeting rooms. It is basically business as usual for me because the transfer window closed when there was a lot of interaction, said the Dane. I don't think it has changed too much for me personally so far, so maybe it is too early to ask about that. But of course there are people who have worked with Daniel for so much longer, which it is most likely more different for them. Spurs begin the post-Levy era with a London derby at West Ham on Saturday evening. Frank will be without striker Dominic Solanke, who remains out with an ankle injury, but he will have new signings Xavi Simons and Randall Kolo Muani in line to make their debuts after arriving late in the transfer window. The match will also bring Mohamed Kudus back to the London Stadium after his £55 million move across the capital to the Hammers' rivals, with a hostile reception expected for the Ghana international. West Ham have also said they will ban half-and-half scarves from the match, and Frank agrees with that sentiment. "I guess it's a little bit odd between two clubs that maybe don't like each other that much," he said. "They're probably not selling that many, so the one who came up with that idea probably isn't the world's most wealthy guy." Frank has 2 midfielders who are in the final 10 months of their contracts at Spurs in Rodrigo Bentancur and Yves Bissouma. The former appears to be a key man under the head coach, while the latter could not find a move away during the transfer window as he recovers from a knee injury. When asked whether he wanted the club to agree a new deal with Bentancur, Frank said, "I think first and foremost, I'm very happy with Rodri. He's been a very good player for us, a top professional in every aspect. I'm happy with him, he's happy with being here. I know that for a fact. Let's see what's going to happen in the future." Bissouma is still being linked with a move away from the club, with some transfer windows open beyond the English one, including the Turkish window, which closes tonight, Friday. And the Saudi Pro League one remains open until September 23rd. However, the Spurs boss does not think there will be any further exits, which means the Mali international will remain part of Tottenham's domestic squad, even if he's not been included in the Champions League one. "I will be surprised if anyone is leaving us now. So yes, he's part of the squad," said Frank. All eyes are on Thomas Frank as he faces the media for the first time since Daniel Levy's shocking Spurs exit. With new CEO Vinay Venkatesham now pulling the strings, fresh signings ready to debut, and injury updates fans are desperate to hear, this press conference could shape Tottenham's season ahead of a huge London derby with West Ham. Thomas Frank is holding his press conference on Friday, ahead of Tottenham's return to Premier League action at West Ham. It has been an international break like no other at Spurs due to the big change at the top that took place last week, with Daniel Levy leaving his role as executive after 24 years at the helm of the North London club. Now CEO Vinay Venkatesham is the main man in charge with assistance from the part-time non-executive chairman, Peter Charrington, and backing from the Lewis family to push the club on. It will also be the first press conference for Frank since the English transfer window closed, with Randall Kolo Muani having arrived on deadline day, and the France international plus fellow new recruit Xavi Simons could be in line to make their Tottenham debuts at the London Stadium on Saturday evening. The Lilywhites boss will deliver the latest injury news after players returned from international duty, plus his update on Dominic Solanke's ankle problem, which saw the England international given injections to see whether it settled down during the international break. Our Tottenham correspondent Alistair Gold is among those putting the questions to Frank. Scroll down for his latest updates from the press conference at Hotspur Way. You can find 5 things we spotted in Tottenham training, including what was said to Xavi Simons, one teenager involved, who signed in February, Randall Kolo Muani, playing in different roles and some sublime moments of skill, by heading right here. Thomas Frank will be with us in a little while. There's a lot of things to discuss with the Spurs head coach, after a busy international break, both on and off the pitch. Tottenham fans, here's your first look at Xavi Simons in action under Thomas Frank. From instant leadership to dazzling skills and a stunning volley in training, Spurs' new number 10 is already making his mark at Hotspur Way. Xavi Simons got to work in his first training session under Thomas Frank and his Tottenham coaches, and there was plenty to be spotted on the Hotspur Way pitches. The 22-year-old Dutchman completed his £52 million move from RB Leipzig towards the end of the transfer window, only to then head off on international duty with new Spurs teammate Mickey van der Ven. It was a relatively quiet fortnight for him for the Netherlands, as he played 79 minutes on the right in the disappointing 1-1 draw at home against Poland on Thursday night, and then watched on unused from the bench as his country won 3-2 in Lithuania on Sunday. On Xavi's return to England, it was time to quickly settle into life at his new club, as he was soon out on the pitches at Hotspur Way with his Spurs teammates and working with Frank and his coaching staff. Here are 5 things we spotted in the foreground and background of the footage from Xavi's first training session in Enfield. As is a custom at Tottenham, the academy players joining in first-team sessions sit on the benches in a row in the corridor, as everyone puts on their boots to head out to training. The first-team players often go along them, slapping hands and making them feel welcome ahead of the session. Even though it was his own first session, Xavi also made a point of going along the wide-eyed youngsters and saying hello before sitting amongst them. Among the youngsters involved was 18-year-old attacking midfielder Dan Batty, who signed from Manchester City in February this year, along with Yusuf Akamrich, as well as academy regulars in first-team training such as Dante Casanova. Xavi walked out for the session with his fellow Dutchman Van der Ven with a big grin on his face and went through the early warm-up paired up with the rapid centre-back. It might be his first session, but Xavi is an old hand, having burst onto the scene as a 17-year-old at PSG after a high-profile move from Barcelona as one of the game's wonder kids. That has caused him to grow up quickly, and he was seen as one of the vocal players at Leipzig, and that much was clear in his first Spurs session. The 22-year-old was constantly calling for the ball, telling those on it to wait before picking the pass and dishing out instructions whenever he felt it was right to do so, including pointing where the player should send the ball after he had cushioned it back to them. He set up Dane Scarlett for a couple of chances and could be heard telling the striker at one point to finish, finish. With coach Matt Wells leading this session, the experienced coach could be heard dishing out plenty of instructions and praise, and in one moment he made it clear what will be expected of Xavi. Young Spurs starlet Akamrich got the ball down the left and was told by Wells to find Xavi. When the ball arrived at the Dutchman's feet, the Tottenham coach shouted, "Go on Xavi, you create whatever you want." The newcomer spread the ball wide and the move ended with a goal for Dane Scarlett, which brought applause from Xavi and the others. It was just a little snapshot of a moment, but as the team's only fit and available number 10, it's clear that Frank and his coaches will want the new signing to bring the creativity, and he will be given more license to roam and carve out opportunities for others. Xavi operated mainly through the centre in the footage shown, coming over to the left, but also did get down that flank a couple of times before putting the ball into the 6-yard box. For a player who came through Barcelona's La Masia academy and has that Dutch upbringing, Xavi's touch and technique is near flawless. His ability to cushion fast passes with his instep, or even his chest with one high cross, is clear, and his quick flicks and spins to get away from his marker, which was often up to the busy Casanova to have to deal with. He spanned the Spurs Academy product at one point before linking up with fellow new arrival Randall Kolo Muani, who has been in training for a few days, as he was not called up to the France squad for their games this month. Xavi also scored a beautifully executed, volleyed lob over goalkeeper Antonin Kinski, which drew praise from Wells and applause from others. It may only have been during this particular session, But Kolo Muani appeared to be playing off the left at points during it, with Xavi feeding him the ball down that flank. That's maybe because of the absence of the various players who play down the left, with them not being back from international duty yet. But it is worth pointing out that Frank did mention about the Frenchman playing down the flanks, before saying he also plays through the middle, when first speaking about signing him.